Hello, welcome to the Tour of Pleasure. Once again, here in the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione. I'm the Lord Chamberlain of the Enchanted Kingdom, Zip Gun. Sitting here going through stuff, talking music, talking about stuff that bugs me sometimes, and then laughing about it because, what do you do? One of the things I've been, it doesn't bug me, but it's a pet peeve of mine, is on YouTube I'm discovering there's a lot of guys. Boy, they're almost all guys. There's a few women, actually, now that I think of it. And they're doing videos about their vinyls. And this is cool. I like this. But they're not talking about the music on the vinyls anywhere near as much as they're talking about how much these bloody things are worth. And they all follow roughly the same script. I was at a jumble sale, flea market, thrift store, record store, whatever, junk shop, and they had a big pile of records for $5 each, and I pulled a bunch out, and here you go. This is what I bought. And they usually show you a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't buy for 25 cents. But it's like, yeah, well, this was a hit in the 70s. Well, sure. But it's also beat up and the cover split. And they sold 14 million copies of it. So a lot of these are like people that don't really know much about records. But they're really into the hobby, the vinyl part. But it reminds me when hockey cards were big. I knew guys that didn't even care about hockey, who were nuts about hockey cards. And I was like, what's the point? And I was like, well, and it's an investment. And I pity all those poor people that invested in hockey cards back in the day, because I don't think those have held out very well. But having said that, I find myself in situations where I'm kind of that guy. Now, my motivations are, of course, different than most of these people. A lot of these guys, there's a guy like Noble Records, he runs a record store. Okay, I get it. And he's an enthusiast. He likes music, but he also loves it when he gets a record that's worth a lot of money. Because that's just, I suppose everybody is. Even me, I've got a few records that are actually worth something. I've sold most of them. But, and there just is a certain special feeling to owning a record that is fairly coveted by some people. And I got one here I'll show you. Now, I buy records I buy 99.5% of what I buy in mostly thrift stores is compact discs. Reason? I like them better. They're easier to store. They're way cheaper. Like a lot of the time they're a quarter. There's a lot of stuff I'll buy for. What did I buy for a quarter the other day? Black Market by Weather Report. Yeah, you bet I'll buy this for a quarter. I'm sure I've got the LP somewhere, unplayed since 1982. I found 2 records by my buddy's Frog Eyes in Victoria, which I probably already have them. But, so a quarter is a quarter is a quarter. Found a Bella Fleck record. I would never buy a Bella Fleck record for $10, but for a quarter I'll buy it. And, but occasionally, and records are always more. Like now, all the thrift stores, records are collectible. And a lot of thrift stores turned into record stores overnight with embarrassing results. They were putting out beat to shit Elvis records for $20, which just sat there. And so finally, most of these stores realize it's not worth the trouble. Put them out, just put them out for whatever. And just let the pickers make their minds up. And so most of these places, because they're greedy, their record prices are usually considerably more than their CD prices. And one of the places that has a pretty good like a lot of records near where I live is the Salvation Army thrift store. And they sell CDs for $2, and they sell LPs for $3. And that's a big difference for me. Like there's some things, there's a lot of stuff I won't buy for $2, but I'll buy it for $1. or I'll buy it for a quarter. And with records, it's all the much more. Because, A, I know that unless it's something that never came out on CD, it exists on CD somewhere, and I might find that for 25 cents, unless it's something I really gotta have. I do like having original LPs. I like having the original article. It's cool. And, you know, but I don't, for listening, I buy stuff because I want to listen to it. I buy it for music. I buy CDs now, actually, so I can put them on my sticks and play them in my car and stuff. For instance, one of the records I found here, I wanted to listen to it. I looked it up on YouTube, and there it was. I haven't even played it. I'm not going to play it. Why should I play it and add wear to an already pristine record? But once in a blue moon, I'll be at a place that sells records, and I'll just sort of idly go through the bin, and they'll be, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, what's this? You know, and it doesn't happen very often, maybe every 2 or 3 months. And I remember there was one time in the Salvation Army in downtown Langford, which is a useless thrift store for records. But then one fine day there were a 10 LP sequence of the complete organ records, organ music of Reinberger, who was an obscure organ composer from Liechtenstein, of all places. And this was everything he ever wrote for the organ on 10 LPs. And yes, they were scattered through the records, and I found them all, and I think they were $1 each. And I was really happy to pay $10 for this, because these were on a label I'd never heard of from Switzerland, and it was just like, what's this doing? And of course, I went through the whole rest of them, and it was all Andy Williams and fucking crap. So this always seems to happen. It's like it's like panning for gold, maybe, or veins of ore when you're mining, or I don't know how you describe it, fishing ground. You catch a pot of fish. So anyways, we were at the thrift store. Actually, Princess Manithi and I were out. She was looking for Star Trek stuff, and I was looking for CDs, and there are hardly any good CDs. So she was busy doing that, and I just sort of picked, without even thinking about it, went into the record bin, and I came across, maybe I'll just do it like this. I came across this, and this piqued my interest. I came across Robbie Basho, The Art of the Acoustic Steel String Guitar, 6 and 12. Now, this is a reissue on Lost Lake Arts, which was a sort of a custom boutique label of Windham Hill. And this guy, he made records for Tacoma, for John Fahey's label. Really great steel string guitar player, pioneer in that, I might add. And this is actually a really, really good record. And it was available as a Windham Hill record for a while, and nobody bought it. And everybody, the guitar universe was like, how dare the world ignore this guy? And he's a bit of a recluse, I think. I don't think he's done much touring or anything. Anyway, this was $3, and I kind of went, I've been kind of a steel string kick. So I went, okay, yeah, maybe. And then I went a few more records in, and I came upon this. And this was another like Rick Wakeman, Country Airs. This was basically when Mr. Wakeman's rock career had pretty much bottomed out. I mean, he was not hip at all anymore. And he just felt like making some nice piano music. And so in the spirit of like George Winston of Windham Hill, he made this very pretty, very melodic record of piano melodies, Dandelion Dreams, and Ducks and Drakes. And it came out on this weird label called, depending on it says New Age. And a lot of people said it was on New Age Records, but I don't think that's actually the name of the label. And this label, New Age Music, is a musical development that appeals to those with modern values and tastes, from Eno to Elgar. Okay. Now, if you look at the record, it looks like the label is called Coda. Done through Polygram. This is Canadian, but they did put them out everywhere. I think in England, I think they put them out in the States. And they're interesting because they were actually This is when people said, yeah, we're New Age music. New Age is cool. And Tom Newman, engineer for Tubular Bells, did a record on this series that's really good. Claire Hamill did one, I think. And like for $3, I groaned about this one. But then it was like, oh, wait a minute. And we got into this stuff. Now, the supreme genius of Ustad Vilayat Khan, noted sitarist. Now, this is, as you may have noticed, an Indian record. It's in the, oh, these are horrible. I maybe should get rid of this. These are not real good for your records. But then again, now I will buy anything that is that's a real record from the Indian subcontinent, particularly, believe it or not, if it's on something like EMI. And that's because these are usually very good performances by the best artists. And, now the problem, first of all, you don't see many of these. Even though you must wonder how many trillions of copies they sold of some of these. Because, India is kind of a huge market. One thing about India is like a lot of the third world. They did actually sell a lot of records. And India, for record collectors, the holy grail of records, the one I can think of, the most holy grail ever, we don't even know if it exists, is the 78 of Hey Jude, which it is rumored that every Beatles single came out on 78 in India. But even, what's his name, Andrew from Parlogram, hasn't confirmed that the last few singles actually came out on 78. So the thing about, and of course you go, well, wait a minute, India, they can't find a Beatles single in India? No, nobody in India ever looked after their records. And so I've got a few of these. They're basically EMI regular issue, a lot of soundtracks. Those aren't so good. But they're in unbelievably bad condition. And the covers are made out of this soft paper that, they're always split, and it's just very, very third world construction. Oh yeah, now I'm going to put this up here. I don't know if anybody from Vancouver remembers Patel's, but Patel's, if I remember right, was like a big East Indian grocery store. But they also had all kinds of imports from India, and they had racks of records. They would import records from India. And a bunch of these, I think, are from Patel's, which means that they're definitely from the Pacific Northwest. Now, nothing really completely earth-shattering about this other than the fact that this record is in absolutely perfect condition. I mean, it's like as new, and it's from 1975? So, this is extraordinary in my disguise. In all my record hunting, I've never seen them. Now, when I tell you about these covers being shite, they're really shite. This here was where the price tag was, because, this drives me wild. In the Salvation Army, every fucking LP record is $3. But there is some diktat somewhere where one of the poor slave people in the back has to put a $3 price tag on every goddamn record they put out. And when you try to take that sticker off on an Indian record, it will remove part of the cover, and that is to a collector. Now, I'm not a collector. I'm delighted to have this, period. Again, this record's in perfect condition. This is a compilation of various things, a tapestry of Indian classical instrumental music. Without that divot in it, this is a perfect copy of this. Ravi Shankar is on it, Alaka Akbar Khan, a bunch of other guys that I've got in here. So this is kind of a sampler. This is 1976. I mean, these are old records from India, and they're in such good shape. This one I can't wait to play. Rhythms of India. What do you say? Yes, a solo tabla record. Two different guys, one on each side. One of them is Ustad Amir Hussain Khan, and I'm just wondering if that's any relationship to or the recently departed Hussein. Tabla recital. This, funny, I looked this one up, and this is, and we'll get to this in a minute. This is another great sitar record, a tribute to one of his famous predecessors. There's the Patel sticker again. Gotta love it. This one, a little bit less. This is a double, which took me a second to figure out because it's in a single sleeve, but they made the sleeve just a bit fatter so you can get 2 records in it. And it's Mikhail Banerjee playing in America. Oh, one is in America, one's in India. This is all, like, you've got to want to listen to sitar music, and luckily I do, because I really like it. But the thing about this pile, and here's another good one, this is the Santur, which is essentially a hammer dulcimer. And, you know, how can you not love these photos? These, oh, here, this one's still, see, this is the price tag they put on every bloody record, and they don't come off without a fight. And so, I think this is really interesting. India copyright and stuff are a little bit loosey-goosey. So if you look at the bottom of this, you'll see it says EMI, and then under it, it says stereo. But that stereo logo and font is stolen from Atlantic Records. That's what Atlantic used to put on all the records, in that exact design. So I find that, and I've seen a few of these where they've taken out, maybe it's on the back too. Yeah, it's on the back too. Somebody's just lifted it from an Atlantic record and put it there, which I think is cool. And for all I know, they were the same company in India, so you never know. Now, some of these, I looked them all up on Discogs because I thought, you know, like, if I do play this game with myself. If I ran a record store, how much would I put these out for? My initial gut reaction was $20 each, because they're fantastic shape. There is only a certain number of people who are going to want this in the world, and I don't want to live with it for the rest of my life. If there's anybody out there, I know there's people who would derive massive pleasure from these. This tabla record is very cool, and I would be inclined to keep that. And in fact, I'm inclined to keep them all, but that's just me. But in with all of these records was this. Now, this is where my record knowledge came in very handy. I'm I'm sure you're all going, so what is this? Okay, because we're in a big pile of Indian records, and these appear to be pretty major figures. Shiv Kumar Sharma playing the Santur is like the guy in India with Zakir Hussain. This is Pandit Prannath. Pandit Prannath was a classical Indian vocalist, and he is almost a mythic figure in Indian music. You'll notice it's on Shandar. Shandar is a label from France in the early 70s that was started by a 24-year-old woman who wanted to put out some interesting records, and boy did she succeed, because she put out records by Terry Riley, Phil Glass, Steve Reich, Sun Ra, and Lamont Young, the father of minimalism. Now, Lamont Young has made about 4 records in 100 years. He just doesn't make records. And so the Lamont Young record, which I have, is sort of an overview of what he was doing at the time, but one side is simply 3 sine wave generators tuned to an interval, and that's all it is. So they were able to make that side 45 minutes long of vinyl, which is by far the longest LP side I own. So, one of the things Lamont Young did, he's a fascinating character. He had a sort of a loft in New York called the Theater of Eternal Music, and he studied deeply and for some time with Pandit Prannath, who came to New York City and, I believe, stayed with them while they studied together. So I saw this and went, Shandar, Pandit Prannath. Well, who's Pandit Prannath again? Wasn't he the Lamont Young guy? Shandar, wait a minute. So I open it up and I see that Pandit Prannath is credited on vocals, and there's I can't even read his name, on tambura, and a guy on tabla, and then there's Lamont Young on tambura. And sure enough, recorded in Lamont Young's loft, And so this basically is from the same era as the Lamont Young Shandar record. Now, you're going to go, so what? Who cares? These are fucking rare. And this in this shape is about a $200 record now. There's a very finite group of people who want it, I'm sure. But there it was sitting in the Sally Ann. So it does happen. But knowledge is power. The only other records I found in that thrift store, which is kind of funny, was I found a whole bunch of quadraphonic classical records, which were great to find, perfect shape. And I remember in the other one across the street, it was never had anything. It was just garbage. But one day they had 3 Lucas Foss records in them, which was like, what? So it, you know, yeah. A lot of the time I see a big bin of records at the thrift store and I go, oh boy, life's too short. And, you know, what am I going to find? And because I've got reasonable self-control now, I almost never buy anything. But that was pretty cool. That was $30, I think, to buy all those. And of course, you know, again, if I was a reseller, I'd make 10 times that back on it. But they'll probably never sell them. I mean, you know, not unless I get really crazy and somebody makes it really easy. But there you have it. Thrift story. Finally, some vinyl. I guess it's not so bad when it's good. And I do have the space for it. It's going to get... There's space at the studio for all the Indian records. And I'm not sure where I'm going to put Pandit Prannath. It's a really cool record, by the way. I played it. It's on YouTube. There you go. And it's Indian music, just like they don't make no more. And it's very simple and very, I don't know how to describe it, very traditional, and very, calming, of course, meditative, if you will, but not in a boring New Age way. So, highly recommend it. And I haven't gotten around to the rest of them. I haven't even played them. So again, one of these things where at some point I'm going to do a review video and say, by the way, remember I reviewed this and I hadn't heard it? So that's coming up at some point. Going to do a selected review one. Anyway, thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we're going to, by God, we're going to keep striving to turn this thing into some kind of entity that's worth doing regularly enough that I don't have these big gaps in production, because sometimes I just don't have much to say. And I know if I want, I can create content, but I prefer to have it just come to me. So comments are always welcome, and suggestions. Gonna have to listen to some more Kiss records, sadly, so I'll probably get back to that. And we'll talk at you later. Thanks for watching.